included just and then we also have the price monitoring provisions in which, as suggested by Stella, include yung justification on price changes whenever they advise on the change of the retail price. Also delete the 2018 to 2020 schedule of increase the excise tax on fuel. This is more of housekeeping kasi hindi na kailangan yung table ng increase on excise tax fuel in the NIRC. So that's it, Chair. What we haven't settled is the rates, Chair. We're good on the zero on diesel, kerosene, and LPG. They say zero siya muna. Pero yung sa gas, most of the authors actually recommend, almost all of them present at yesterday, was that 435 sana at 535 instead of 7, pending the report ng DOF kung ano yung revenue impact niya.
Good. So we're now open to discussion. Thank you, Vice Chair Garin, Secretariat. Before that, was there any effort, Lena, within our staff to estimate the change from 7 to 5 and 35?
Sir, we were unable to do that, sir. We were focused on the substitute bill, but we asked the Department of Finance, Director Arvin, to compute for the revenue impact projection.
Chair.
Yes.
I think Kong Mark or Kong Stella has more or less, estimates of the possible revenue.
May I call on Stella?
Kung nandyan na sila.
Nandyan si Stella.
Chair?
Yes. Show your beautiful face.
Chair. Chair, this is me. Oh, yeah. I don't have estimates, but based on the presentation of the DOF, they said that the revenue impact of suspending the entire tax is 147. So that 147 billion, that's for 12 months. So if you're looking at a 6-month period, see, best guess lang. Siguro it cannot exceed 20 billion. Or just thinking about that's just my guesstimate based on the DOF initial estimates in our last hearing.
So magiging 38 billion siya, 36 instead of 16.
Sorry.
Pero Chair, that's just like, divided by 2 and all that. Wala pang consideration yung other factors that DOF input. Yung mga elasticity, whatever other factors that...
May I first recognize, of course, my good friend, Congressman Padianos. So, Arvin, do you have an estimate for that change?
Hello, good morning, Mr. Chair and the members of the Ways and Means Committee. I'll be sharing our slides if I may be allowed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anna, please allow him to share.
Okay, can you see my screen, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so first we go back to the slides we presented last time. We estimate that we will be able to collect 119.5 billion pesos in VAT and fuel excise and VAT on fuel excise next year. So this is for the entire year. And then with regard to the suspension every month, we have the following estimate. So this is based on historical data, Mr. Chair. We see that the distribution in the revenue impact for fuel excise is actually on a season. There's some sort of seasonality. So if we suspend it, for example, in January, that's around 12% of the total revenues, if I'm not mistaken. So 12% multiplied to the 119.5, that would be around 14 billion in the first month of suspension. So we can expect that around that figure for every month that we suspend the revenues from the train excise, Mr. Chair.
So, yeah, compute tayo.
Yes, I will be sending our estimates for this one. We just got the bill today and late yesterday, so we'll be sending our revenue estimates for this one.
12.5 plus 11.9. Yes.
Ano tong numbers na to? These are
11.
kung magkano? 12.5 billion in 2021 yung collection. Ganun ba yan?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is the monthly historical collection for the fuel excise products.
Based on what rates are we talking about on 2021?
Mr. Chair, this is the current rates that we have now. So for train law,
Which is
the 10 pesos for gasoline,
Chair, sorry So yung 12.5 nito, meron siyang gas, ano pa, na 10 pesos, diesel, meron ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It's all the active excise taxes. So we just use this to estimate the share of each month on the revenue estimate. So we can use that to distribute the 119.5 billion that we estimate for the entire year, Mr. Chair.
Wala tong breakdown on the products na.
On the breakdown, Mr. Chair, we're still finalizing. We'll be sharing it once we have it, Mr. Chair.
All right. Sige, thank you.
Chair,
Yes.
Joey, if we may request sana DOF, if they can make a computation on the revenue impact if we lower based on the excise taxes based on our recommendations. For example, from the current 10 to for gasoline to 535, for example, the pre-train law rate. And for example, diesel from the current 6 to 0 rate. So para very realistic yung tingin natin, ano yung revenue impact if we suspend, for example, in 6 months from January to June. Kasi itong 12.5 halimbawa sa January of 2021, 12.5 billion, lahat na ito na petroleum products. Hindi lang ito limited doon sa gasoline, diesel, kerosene, and LPG. So if we can request DOF to do that, mas realistic yung pagtingin natin doon sa ano yung maging revenue impact, Mr. Chair.
7 to 0. From 7 to 535.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will be preparing the revenue estimates according to the provisions of the bill. But if I may be allowed to share the slide here, this is our initial estimate for the initial version of the bill where the suspension was stipulated for December 1 this year until June 1 next year. So we estimate that during those 6 months that the rates would be as stipulated. And since the rates are the same in the draft substitute bill, then we estimate that the revenue loss for the 6-month suspension would be 37.5 billion, Mr. Chair.
So kahit natin, ratio yung gasoline, so kaso unleaded lang yung pinatch ko eh. Paano kaya to? So ito 7 to 535. So it cannot be, so max additional 10 billion ba yan? Kaso yung gasoline itself, malaki ba yun, yung regular? So smaller than diesel. Paano ba yan?
Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may be allowed to explain this table. So currently our rates for these products are 10 pesos for unleaded premium gas, and then 5 for kerosene, and then 6 pesos for diesel. And then based on the previous version of the House Bill 10438, it's 7 pesos for gas, and then it's suspended for kerosene and diesel. And then with these new rates, we estimate that the excise, the incremental revenues for excise and VAT on the excise would be 7.9 billion on unleaded gas and 0.2 on kerosene, and then 29.4 billion on diesel, Mr. Chair. It's really because the volume of removals for the diesel far outweighs that of the unleaded gas, so that's why the difference is too large.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to ask Director Arvin if they took into account the increase in revenue resulting from the drop in the tax rate. So obviously, pag magmumurang gasolina, dadami yung demand. So I'm wondering if that effect was also taken into account in this slide.
No, Mr. Chair, we are not yet able to account for the elasticity of prices here. We are still studying it, Mr. Chair, and we will submit once we have finalized our estimates.
So, Mr. Chair, I think on the basis of that statement, I think that this revenue impact is overstated.
Kaso wala pang ano yan, yung reduction sa premium at sa unleaded at regular gasoline, which you still brought down to 435 and 535. I think that's the only empirical issue right now.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Kong Mark Go. Yeah. I asked this question earlier, but it was never answered. We have a lot of savings that we can generate from our budget in not only in 2021, but we had savings in 2020, considering the fact that the plantilla positions that we have in government is about 1.8 million, and the unfilled positions is more than 180,000. I would like to find out from the Department of Budget or from DOF, how much is the savings out of this situation that we have more than 180,000 unfilled positions in government, which can probably help in addressing this concern of ours of the possible deficit in budget because of the reduction in the excise tax that we are proposing today, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is the DBM around?
Yes, Mr. Chair, for a while po.
Thank you, Yoli.
Good morning to everyone. I'm glad that it was brought up by Congressman Go. Actually, though we don't have yet an official position for all of these proposed bills, however, what I will be articulating for today will be based on some of our Bureau's position coming from the Fiscal Planning and Reforms Bureau. So essentially, we think that sourcing the requirements from savings within the existing budget will be the better option, since we have to consider that first the 2022 budget has already considered the figures on the excise tax as part of the programming as the source. So that's number one. Eventually, if these House bills will be approved, then they will have repercussion on the budgets, the 2022 budget level, thus affecting the different programs and projects. Now, So, and also we think that the approach or the provision of the subsidy will have to be targeted given the limitations. For that matter, the DBCC has already decided to release 1 billion for the DOTR, particularly the LTFRB, to assist the different transport groups which have been complaining about the increase. And to respond to Congressman Go's point earlier, we can actually review the use of savings. Although I'm coming from the planning bureau of the department, it's more of the call of our operations offices, but that can be considered. The point is we can make use of the existing budgets, the possible savings that can be generated instead of the other way around. That's it po, Mr. Chair.
Can you restate that in a more straightforward fashion?
Essentially, we believe that, I believe that, well, in the first place, it will have an impact on the 2022 budget, particularly in terms of the assumptions, because they have already been factored in terms of the financing. And secondly, the provision of assistance will have to be targeted and not across the board. It will resort to leakages, considering the very small fiscal space that we already have. So essentially, those are the 2 points, Mr. Chair.
When you say leakages, you're referring to the fact that the rich
Yes.
consume more of this
Yes
product.
po. Yes po.
That's why I wanted you to clarify. Because
Opo.
you say, baka ibig mo sabihin ng leakages katulad ng PSDBM.
That's another matter. Basta sir, yun po, yung given the limited budget that we have, and we know for a fact that those the drivers and those in the lower echelon of the society are the most affected, then they better be assisted first.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mark.
yeah, you know, one of the major concerns of the Department of Finance is the deficit that we will have as a result of the reduction of the excise tax from the current 10 pesos and 6 pesos respectively on leaded, unleaded, and diesel to the pre-train prices. And one of the things I'm recommending is that instead of worrying about this deficit that we will incur, we will look at the savings that we have already generated because of the unfilled positions that we have since actually 2019 up to the present. Ang total unfilled positions, sabi ko nga, out of the 1.8 million plus plantilla positions, we have about more than 180,000 unfilled. And I would like to find out, magkano ba ito at saan ngayon itong perang ito? Hindi naman nagamit yan kasi hindi naman na-fill up yung position since early this year, up to today. Kung I made a rough estimate, this will be more than 70 billion pesos for 12 months, Mr. Chair.
Yoli?
It po, sir. Normally po, sir, kung permanent yung positions, the funds are released since the beginning of the year. So I would assume that the funds are with the agencies. Now, with the matter dun sa mga positions lodged in lump sum funds, then hindi pa yun nare-release. Because we need details, our operations offices need details and justification as reason for the release of funds for those positions.
Pwede ba nating, Mr. Chair, pwede ba nating malaman kung magkano yan ngayon at yung na-lodge na sa different agencies at saka yung nasa DBM pa, Mr. Chair?
Yoli?
Yoli?
Yoli, ano yun?
Sir, Mr. Chair, I'm very sorry because as I've mentioned, I'm coming from the Fiscal Planning Bureau. But with the discussions now, I can readily report it to our OIC so that the necessary instructions will be made to the offices concerns, because this will involve our operations offices plus yung OPCCB. Yung Office of Position and Compensation Bureau to
Chair,
come up with those figures.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Sarte.
Just for a point of information lang, Mr. Chair, I recall during the budget deliberations, no, probably this may have a relevance, no, doon sa pinag-uusapan. The DBM disclosed that as of 2020, for example, meron tayong unused appropriation na nasa 262.2 billion, no? Magkasama na rito yung unreleased appropriation of 62.1 billion and unobligated allotment of 200 billion. So just a point of information that in support to the manifestation of Representative Marco na possibly we can possibly look for funds, no, to soften the impact just in case we approve this bill, Mr. Chair.
Okay, can we put this aside because, well, we've done numbers, my staff, the impact of the change between my bill and the TW bill is 12.25 billion. So that's the incremental revenue loss arising from the changes initiated by Sharon Gary. So it will be deducted from her allocation into her district. So
Kaya lang, sir, hindi naman ako kandidato.
sige. So before we decide, may we hear again from our resource person. Is Mr. Ang around again? Coco Alpuas. May I now call on sino ba yung is Brosas around?
She's not around, Mr. Chair.
She asked me to call on a few people. Can you, Kaloy?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think former Representative Kapay Mariano is present to also present their position.
May I call on a new representative from the farmers first?
Yes, Representative Kapay Mariano, Mr. Chair, is...
okay, may Kapay Mariano is hereby recognized. Former colleague. Wala.
He was here a while ago, Mr. Chair, but
Kapaeng.
at any rate, Mr. Chair,
He's not in the Zoom, sir.
he's no longer in the Zoom. Kamodi of Piston is also around, Mr. Chair. I don't know if he has.
But we already heard him.
Okay.
We already heard MMCC knocked to the basically, in fact, it improves on the basically moves us and further on their request for relief. So anybody from the
Yeah.
Fisher?
Sir,
Yes.
Miss Rochelle Porras, sir, from the list sent
Yeah.
by Rep Rosas.
Okay, you're recognized.
Chairman. Ay, sorry.
May inano ko. For
Miss Porras
Miss
po,
Porras.
Executive Director Rochelle Porras.
yes, Executive Director Rochelle Porras. You look like the DBM Executive Director.
No, Chairman, Executive Director.
You should have said I'm prettier. Ganun.
I cannot. Baka ma-kick out po ng Zoom room. No, just kidding, sir. Thank you very much po for this opportunity.
Bakit parang may hangin sa loob ng Zoom?
Makasalang this. Sa akin yun, Mr. Chair,
Hindi maganda yung audio.
laptop. Better na po ba?
Oh, okay, sige na.
Yes, okay. Apo. We will be submitting po a full position paper supporting the bills. Ang mahalaga po sa amin is to register raise na ang hirap po para sa mga manggagawa based on our surveys and consultations. Yung pagtaas ng presyo ng langis dahil automatic po tumataas yung presyo ng bilihin last August. For example, yung pork between May to August, umabot po ng halos 400 pesos per kilo. Tapos yung minimum wage po sa NCR, mahal na po. Bumaba po ng konti ngayon pero ganun kamahal. And then yung basic, yung minimum wage po sa NCR is 537. Pero i-point ko na lang po yung mahalaga, yung tunay na halaga ng sahod o real wage sa Bicol is only 233. So yung mga hindi na po na talaga makakamit yung basic goods sa food basket pa lang. So mahalaga pong pag-usapan natin ito in connection with ano yung subsidies naman din na para sa workers. Pero primarily po mahalaga para sa amin na legal advocate as what we can do as regards to the excise tax and sa train law na naging pahirap po talaga sa ating mga workers based po sa aming mga findings and consultations. So, Chair, may we email po the position paper today and acknowledge na lang po sana ng legislative staff.
Thank you. Kaloy?
Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chairman.
Yes, Sharon.
Chair, I just want to Chair, because I know that we're here in the committee, we're always cautious naman of the revenue impact of the proposals that we pass here. And true enough, this proposal adds more to the impact, no? 12 billion more. Pero which we haven't decided on during the TWG because we needed to consult the committee and especially you, Chair. Kasi bago namin i-decide yan. Kaya lang, just to Chair, why we didn't put the leaded and unleaded? Kasi hindi na yan yung yung substantial, yung differentiation ngayon. It's on the octane na eh. Yung NIRC, hindi na dapat yan, hindi na yan yung distinction ngayon eh. I think it was explained by Congressman Suntay na leaded and unleaded, hindi na yan yung how you, yung substantial distinction. Yeah, pag differentiate mo ng products, it's on the octane content or whatever, no? Kaya siya in-include na. And also, as pointed out by Stella, how about the elasticity of demand? More so on the effect on the inflation, kasi as presented in your brief, Chair, in the last hearing, highly affected are agriculture and fisheries. So very basic ang impact niya. So if you lower, there's a substantial lowering of the excise, pero yung effect naman ito sa economy natin, I think this is positive and more likely will cover up the 12 billion impact based on the numbers lang, pero hindi pa natin na consider the other factors, Mr. Chair. So, I mean, it's just for your consideration, Chair. Consciously, we did decide not to finalize the numbers.
Naku,
Di ma-present.
sana tinext mo na lang ako para na-wording na natin yung high octane, low octane,
Kasi hindi, when we were meeting, kasi we didn't have the OE yesterday, Chair. We could, so that's why in-include na lang, sinama na lang, kasi nandyan na sa NIRC. We didn't know if we should overhaul the NIRC in that case. Pero, yun, Mr. Chair.
Hindi na siya overburden because we'll take away the regular and the premium. It will be just octane, how do you call that? Octane content.
Yeah, I think DOE can explain it better, sir, if I know.
DOE? Can I call on DOE and explain and propose a possible differentiation?
Mr. Chair, good morning to the members of the committee. Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
that's correct, Mr. Chair, as pointed out by Representative Garin. Our identification now is based on RON, or the octane content of the gasoline. We have, sir, at this point in time, we have 91, 95, 97, 91, 95, 97, and the pure 100. Mr. Chair, as far as we are concerned, when we implemented the train law, the one that we call on the ground, which is the regular, is the 91. The rest of the 95, 97, and 100 are what we call the premium.
So, sino gumagamit ng regular?
Mr. Chair, depending on the specifications of the vehicle, in my case, sir, I have an old Vios and that use 91.
So, mga kotse?
Mga kotse, sir.
So, yung premium, ang gumagamit, tricycle?
Usually, sir, ang mga tricycle 91. Ang mababa po ang octane is 91. Pag gusto mo ng more power, aakyat ka na sa premium. Opo. The concept, Mr. Chair, of the octane is that the piston is able to accumulate more fuel before it explode. So it is the octane is an additive that makes the fuel resistant to explosion. So pag mabilis kasi pag 91 lang, siyempre hindi nakakaipon ang piston ng enough fuel to really produce more explosive output. So pag tumaas ka na ng 95, nakakaipon po. Yung mas malaking piston po, yun ang kailangan niya kasi mas malaki ang maiipon niyan. Pag pumutok siya, mas malakas.
Mr. Chair, Coco.
Coco, yes.
Yeah, just to simplify it, masyado ng technical kasi yung DOE.
Yeah,
sorry. It's okay. Just to simplify it, the octane rating is basically kung the lower the octane, the higher chances of an engine to knock. Alam mo yung kumakatok sa engine. So pag kumakatok yung engine mo, that means kulang yung octane na pinasok mo sa engine. Lower performance vehicles, so entry-level vehicles, the minimum octane is 91. So yan pumapasok yung mga tricycle. Yung mga luxury cars at saka mga sports cars, sila ang may kailangan ng high octane. And to put things into perspective, let's say a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz can operate in a 91 octane as well.
Yeah.
So basically, kung sinong gusto ng mas mataas na octane, magbabayad ng premium. Pero ang pinaka-basic sa atin is 91 octane, which even substandard and non-roadworthy vehicles can use. So ganun lang, Mr. Chair.
That is being widely used, yung 91 and octane, di ba? So
correct. And the widely smuggled is sub 91 octane. Para klaro.
So, yun ang sinasabi mo, yung regular, yan ang 435. Yung isa, balik natin sa 7. Ganun ba yan? Kasi ako naman, gusto ko lang protektahan yung mga tricycle driver eh. Ano, Sharon?
So the octane
We will put that already.
will be premium. So i-change na lang yung provision,
We
Chair.
will change the provision. Yes.
I'm amenable actually as a compromise. We go on the 91 430. Ano ba yun kanina? 4.35.
Or
And
35.
if the authors are okay, and,
Yung regular.
Oh, yung back to pre-train yung
Pre-train.
tapos pero yung
Yung
premium,
premium,
7 pwede, sir? Or
Oo.
wala na?
Meron bang, is there anyone here who wants to contradict because that will reduce the revenue impact? So, ano sila?
Chair, as in my side, Chair, I don't have any objections to that na yung i-change lang yung hindi premium, no? But I would I'm not sure about the opinion of the authors of the kasi
Me as I will give pre-train to 91 and retain train for 95 to 100. But kung naman bakit bibigyan ko ng pre-train si Ayala?
sige, sir.
So, is there any objection? Thank you, Coco. So, finally, the law is catching up with the realities of the market.
Mr.
So
Chair, just a clarification.
Yes, Sarte.
Yes. So as proposed now, yung regular gasoline ibabalik siya sa pre-train law level of 435.
91.
Yeah. So and yung premium gasoline dito kasi sa TW proposed bill 7, no? Pero meron siyang proviso on the version when it reaches $65 per barrel. Are we still going to retain this, itong premium gasoline at 7, Mr. Chair?
No more.
Train na sila.
Compromise na, Kung Kaloy. We protect the ones that are need more. Because the premium are more for newer and
so there will be no more suspension for the premium gasoline.
but
reduction for premium.
But the distinction papalitan yung nasa NIRC kasi yung NIRC medyo misleading kasi unleaded lang yung nakalagay doon tsaka leaded, di ba? So gagawin na siyang premium, more specific or more definite na yung distinction.
Ang sa NIRC kasi regular gasoline and unleaded premium gasoline.
Correct.
So
so that we can change that, Kang Joey, no?
We retain train for 95 to 100.
All right.
And then pre-train to 91.
With the indulgence of the Chair, pwede ho bang marinig lang natin yung comments ng mga stakeholders, for example, yung mga chopper at driver, Mr. Chair, if halimbawa si Kamode, kung andyan siya, anong tingin nila sa ganong
He had a good time already last time, but with your course, I cannot refuse you. Yes, Modi, you are on.
Thank you, Chair.
Magandang umaga po, Mr. Chairman at sa Modi National President Piston. Sa bahagi po namin ay malinaw naman yung position namin kaugnay po doon sa excise tax na matagal na namin talaga ikinukumprin sa ating pamahalaan na talaga nagdudulot ito nung patuloy nga ng pagpapahirap sa hanay ng hindi lamang sa hanay ng mga driver at operator kundi sa hanay ng mga mamamayan. At kung sa bahagi nga po namin sa malinaw po yung inano namin, kung sa driver po ay halos sa 336 pesos kada araw, yung nawawala naming kita para doon sa pagtaas sa ilalim nga ng sales tax na dapat ito ay nagagamit na namin doon sa pangangailangan ng aming pamilya. At pag tinignan po natin, Mr. Chair, ay halos sa 8,400 pesos kada buwan yung pong nawawala sa amin dahil dito sa tuloy-tuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng petrolyo. Kaya sa amin ay kung babawasan yung usapin ng mga karins, so usapin po ng buwis, so usapin po ng VAT, mas malaking bagay po sa amin, or kailangan ng revocasahin din talaga yung old regulation law kasi sabi nga po natin ay mula nga po nung pinatupad dito ay hindi naman talaga tuwira nakatulong sa hindi lamang sa ng mga driver at operator kundi sa mga mamamayan. Kaya
putulin ko po kayo. Ang gusto lang po namin malinawan, ano po ang tingin ninyo kung ang isuspend na excise tax halimbawa doon sa gasolina ay doon sa regular na gasolina, no, na ibabalik natin doon sa wala pang train na 4 pesos and 35 at hindi na isasama yung premium na gasolina. Ano po ang tingin ninyo doon na Kamude, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, malaking tulong po yun kung ibabalik natin doon sa wala pang sa panahon ng walang sales tax, wala pang VAT, ay malaking tulong hindi lamang sa bahagi po ng sektor ng transport kundi sa buong mamamayan.
So kahit na hindi na isama yung sa premium, Kamude, tama po? Okay,
dapat po isama po yun sa premium kasi ito po yung pangunahing ginagamit ng ating mga kapatid na mga magsasaka at mga mangingisda.
Yung premium gasoline?
Oh, sorry.
Opo.
Okay, so I'm back. So can anybody vouch for that the farmers use for their field mech equipment and for the fisher fox, they use 95 and above? Rino, do you know the consumption pattern?
Mr. Chair, as I've said and supported by one of the representative, Mr. Chair, yung kaibahan lang po, lahat ng makina po gumagana sa 91. Kung gusto mo lang po mabilis ang sasakyan mo, mag-premium ka po. Ganun lang. Ganun lang ang advantage niya, Mr. Chair. Mapabilis ka lang kasi nakakaipon po siya ng yung piston ring po, mas matagal siyang pumutok. Sir, kaya nakakaipon siya doon sa loob ng fuel, enough fuel na pag pumutok siya mas malakas. So, ganun lang po. Lahat yan gumagana ng 91. I'm baffled of the claim na the machinery in the farmer side would use the premium. Unless the specification of the equipment really was designed to use a 95 octane rating. Yun lang po siguro ang exception, Mr. Chair. Kung talagang design siya.
Mr. Chair, I have to agree with the DOE there that most engines, even Mercedes-Benz, can run at 91. And high-performance engines can run at 91 and only at high speed. So, yung mga higher octane fuels, wala yun. Kailangan mo lang yan for race cars. But aside from that, okay na yung 91. It's general use. Even in Japan, 91 ang minimum nila. In Singapore, 91 ang minimums. Indonesia, 91 ang minimum. All throughout the world, 91 ang minimum. Sa US, sometimes you see sa pump, it's 85. But 85 is actually our 91. Iba yung sa kanila eh. But 91, okay yan, Mr. Chair.
Coco, you're now in green, huh? Does that suggest any political color?
I knew you'd notice.
Mr. Chair, tumataas po ng kamay si Mr. Ariel Lim. Baka meron siyang...
Oh, yes. NBPI. Ariel, you're recognized?
Yes, good morning po. I am the National President of TODA. Yung NACTODA po, National Confederation of Tricycle Operators and Drivers Association of the Philippines. Okay, ang masasabi ko lang ho, itatanong ko lang po, Mr. Chair, kung pwede masagot ng Department of Energy. I worked with Filipina Shell for 4 years. Okay? Ang tanong ko lang po, sa tricycle po kasi, ang ginagamit namin talaga 91. Okay? Pero po, sa 91 na yan, sa tagal ko po nagta-tricycle, was a tricycle driver for 6 years before ako punta sa trabaho sa gobyerno, tumutopi po kasi. Alam niyo yung tope? Pag po kinargahan mo ng 91, kaya po nagtataka kami, yung 91 po ba ngayon dun sa mga small players, is that is 91? Kasi po, pag po ikaw nagkarga, para po alam lang ng lahat, kasi po ako'y tricycle driver tumutopi po ang makina. Ibig sabihin ng tumutopi, pag yung po ang kinarga, pag pinaandar mo, gumaganon po yung makina namin. Ayaw humatak ng maayos. Kaya po gumagamit din kami ngayon ng 95 octane rate. Kasi po, sa probinsya, nagtataka kami, 91 ang nakalagay, pero para pong hindi 91 yung gasolinang ginagamit namin. That's why tinatanong ko po kung may problema po ba doon or baka kasi smuggle ito.
Thank you, Ariel. Sharon, I think your monitoring should include quality. Ang problema, it's under oil deregulation law.
Mr. Chair. Meron naman tayong batas dapat dyan already, Chair, di ba?
Rino?
Yes,
Under
Mr.
the
Chair.
oil deregulation law, is there a mechanism to measure or monitor the product quality?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Naisiset din po ng Standards Committee na sinabi din na i-create yan at nagsiset tayo ng Philippine National Standards. Ang ginagawa po ng DOE, yung siniset ni BPS na PNS on the fuel quality ay sinicircularize namin. At true enough, pag na-circularize yan, ngayon naka-circularize na po, Mr. Chair, lahat, yun na i-implement na po on the ground through testing. But admittedly, yung sinasabi ni Sir Ariel, as I mentioned, it really refers to the power, yung lakas ng fuel. Tama po kayo. Kaya lang, kung hindi po kontento ang perspective, kasi relative po ang perspective na yan sa mga driver, kung hindi po sila kontento, maoobliga po yung driver sa tingin niya, feeling niya, hindi siya kontento dun sa power na binibigay ng fuel, aakyat po siya sa premium, but he has to pay the additional price. But we do, Mr. Chair, inspect on gasoline station level yung fuel quality, and we do that all year round.
Okay. Anyway, yes.
I to agree with NACTODA President Ariel, who I've met in Davao a few years back. In the provinces, hindi masyado mataas yung monitoring ng DOE dyan kung whether yung 91 ay 91 talaga or merong halo. Alam natin yan on the ground. Merong minsan dyan, mga, in the words of Mr. Ang, very efficient. Yung mga very efficient dyan falls under the responsibility of the monitoring teams of the DOE. So maybe the DOE can at least inform the NACTODA President na kung meron dyang 91 na mukhang hindi 91, kaduda-duda, sino ang tatawagan sa DOE para ma-quality control. So sana ganun na lang DOE. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before we proceed, can I ask TJ, can you recognize all the other members? There are, I think, more than 10 additional legislators. And now you're still there.
Yes, sir. I'm still here. Okay, sir.
Can you recognize Vice Chair Tan, Deputy Speaker Sabeliano,
Yes, yes, sir.
Representative
We have Vice Chair Sheena Tan, Deputy Speaker Deogracia Sabeliano, Representatives Lawrence Fortun, Jose Gay Padiernos, Jose Pingping Tejada, Ted Haresco, Kaloy Sarte, whom I recognized earlier, Eufemia Colyamat, Cheryl De Loso Montalia, and Representative Rico Heron, sir.
Thank you.
For the guest, sir, do I continue to the guest, sir? There are about 25 to 30 guests.
When they speak na lang.
Yes.
When they speak na lang.
Chairman.
Okay.
Yes.
Chairman, may tanong
Yes,
lang. Yung data ba, it shows na mas malaki talaga yung consumption ng 91 among the may data ba? Kandyan kaya yan sa records ng DOE?
Mayroon yan si Rino.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will submit ASAP.
No, you don't need to. I just want to know na if the numbers support the yung our direction now na yung public transport gumagamit ng 91. So yun dapat ang tutulungan pero given na totoo yun, di ba, na they do use 91 and that will be shown by whatever your reports are sa consumption natin, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Owing to the price difference between around 2 to 3 pesos between premium and regular, or the 91 versus 95, even 97, baka mga 4 na piso na po yan. So doon pa lang sigurado na ako na gumagamit the usual transport sector ay gumagamit dun sa 91. The second point, Mr. Chair, we can submit the segregated. What I have, sir.
Okay na ako, sir, Chairman.
Okay na. Kasi we've been moving around already, and I'll just give a chance to the Petroleum Institute of the Philippines. Rafi, your hands have been raised.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thanks for recognizing me. Sir, just another point of consideration for everyone. No? While I understand your rationale in differentiating between octanes, it might present several operational issues doon sa fuel marking ng government. Because sometimes, as you know, the regulation is that when you bring in fuel, everybody will be marked. Now, yung ibang produkto ngayon is set aside mo kasi hindi mo mark yun kasi walang excise tax yun. Now, it also happens that many oil companies will bring in regular gasoline and then they will add some sugar to it, magiging premium na siya. So, that's an operational difficulty sa fuel marking. Second, pag meron differentiation ng ganyan, sometimes it triggers smuggling. Now, kung lahat sila meron excise tax, medyo madi-discourage yung mga bad actors. Pero pag meron gap na ganyan, baka magkaroon ng smuggling. Tapos babalik na naman yun, halo-halo. Yung sinasabi ni Director Rino na naghahalo-halo. Pinaghahalo yun regular sa premium. Especially given the pandemic, hirap ho mag-field testing at DOE ngayon to check the quality.
Yeah, thank you very much for the suggestion. But the difference is only 1 peso. So,
yeah.
So I think it's not worth the other. Although I think at a certain point the DOF would have to sharpen its ability to mark accordingly based on the differentiation. But there seems to be a consensus to retain pre-train for 91 and essentially retain train for 95, 97 up to 100. I think it will be so reflected. I think Sharon, please do the revisions. So is there a motion to approve the rates?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mark. Yes, Dago.
In this proposed substitute bill, dalawa lang naman ang klase rito, regular gasoline at saka
we're changing it.
Unleaded premium gasoline as far as gasoline is concerned. Wala namang nakalagay dito 95 to 90, 91 to 95 yung octane eh.
We are changing it to modernize the law.
Do we have problems with the current categorization of gasoline?
Yes.
Meron ba tayong problema?
May problema because it doesn't already reflect the realities in the market. The basis for the pricing is really the octane content, not the nomenclature of regular or premium.
Okay, so what you are saying now is if we will approve this, yung 91 octane will be at
pre-train.
Will go to 435, which is the pre-train price, and for high octane 95, it will be 535.
It will be train.
Train, so 7 pesos.
7 pesos.
Yes.
Di ba tayo pwedeng bumalik sa 5.35? Yun ang recommendation natin.
Pwede na yan, Kong Mark. Compromise.
Compromise na yan, Mark. Kasi ang gusto lang naman natin, actually, bigyan ng subsidy yung yung transport sector eh. Wala naman tayong balak bigyan ng ng pre-train si
Congressman Salceda.
Oh, yun.
Mr. Chair,
I think there's already a consensus. I just need a motion. And
Chair Joey, just before the motion, Chair Joey, last na lang, with your indulgence. Bumalik na kasi si former Secretary Kapay Mariano. Nasa line na siya. Can we just give him a few minutes to also present?
May I recognize Kapay Mariano, former congressman? Hindi rin, hirap na hirap yata yung kanya
Not meant to be.
Okay.
Okay, so...
Chairman, motion.
I want to move already at this point.
Sir, the DOF is raising his hand.
Arvin?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you for recognizing me. Can I take this time again to manifest our position with regard to the emerging proposals?
Okay.
I'll be sharing my screen as well, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Director na yan si Arvin.
List ng computation ni Arvin.
Thank you, sir. Again, we manifest our position, Mr. Chair, that we do not support the various proposals and the emerging proposal to lower or suspend the train fuel excises. Because these will translate to significant foregone revenues, will be detrimental to recovery and long-term growth, and this will be inequitable.
Can I cut you there?
Yes, sir.
Yung Create, we gave them 147 billion. You know how much the dividends? 60. You know how much the buybacks? 60.
Yeah, 120.
So how can I accept your first key message? I play the stock market. I made so much money from the buybacks and the dividends. So where is the recovery in long-term growth? Comes from investments, from Create. So Create just merely gave them more money to buy bucks and to do egg dividends. So you mean to say what's good for the gander is bad for the goose? No, you can continue. Go to the next one, but I totally disagree with your first key message.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Second one is the government has already committed to support our transportation sector with the 1 billion pesos committed by the
It's too small. That's my Then go to number 3.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. Providing a targeted cash subsidy to the transport sector will be more equitable than suspending the fuel.
Yeah, but the more affected is the farmers and the fisher folks.
Okay, Mr. Chair. I have 2 more slides to show, if that would be okay. So the next one, Mr. Chair, is that the proposed suspension may no longer be necessary. While we breached the $80 per barrel threshold cited in the train law this October, the prices of Dubai crude oil are already on the futures prices for Dubai crude oil are already.
There is not such a thing as backwardation. I do futures, Arvin. Did you consider backwardation?
No, Mr. Chair, but we see that
okay, that's number 1. Number 2, isang putok lang yan sa Strait of Hormuz, yung futures mo yan, iba na ang korte niyan. Okay, next slide.
Okay, and then next, Mr. Chair, is that we have already 509 billion pesos worth of subsidies already included in the proposed budget. So we think that the proposed suspensions would be no longer necessary because we have already provided relief in the 2022 budget. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but where are the farmers there? And the fisher folks? And the transport sector? Itong difficult. That's AX for funeral, for hospitalization.
Laki ng OFW, no?
Yeah.
Hey, we can proceed now, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chair,
Mr. Chair.
motion. Si Marcos na.
Mr. Chair, if I may be allowed.
Yes. Ikaw kasi.
Approval of the unnumbered substitute bill in substitution of House Bills 243, 10411, 10426, 10438, and House Resolutions 2318 and 2320. I so move, Mr. Chair. Of course, subject to the
motion. As amended, Chair.
As amended. As amended, Mr. Chair.
Are there any objection? Hearing none, same is approved.
And the
So-
committee report too, Mr. Chair. I move that the committee report shall be approved by this body. Also, I move also that the committee report be approved, Mr. Chair.
So, okay, thank you. So the next item is the administrative provisions. Pero hindi na natin na-discuss. Nagmadali tayo.
Ano yung administrative provision?
Hindi na. I don't think we need to...
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just for the record, Mr. Chair, no, it was already approved. Where I would like to remind the Department of Energy that they need to strengthen their monitoring. Kasi sa probinsya, we are forced to use the 90. Kasi yung 91 dito, in the case of the ISIS, no, ang dami naming mga motorsiklo na supposed to be 91 lang, napilitan kaming gumagamit ng 95. Kaya kung tingnan mo yung data namin sa inventory, mas mataas yung premium. So wala pong nakakarating na taga Department of Energy. I disagree with the claim of DOE director na they are monitoring up to the gasoline station level, no? Hindi po totoo 'yun. Ilang taon na po walang nakapunta dito na taga DOE. Kadalasan pag pumunta sila, dito natutulog yan sa co-op. Wala na po 7 years, 8 years. So kindly do your job monitoring. Kasi hindi po 91 yung 91. I don't know, yung 95 nga siguro, 93. So yun lang po at finally Mr. Chair, hindi po totoo na ilang sektor lang dito. It affects all sectors, mga manggagawa lahat. Kaya I totally disagree doon sa DOF key messages. Lahat po ng key messages niya, I totally disagree to all of those. Wala po sila sa ground. Kami po ang nasa ground, kami po ang nakakaalam kung ano ang tunay na kalagayan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now I see the face of Congressman Mariano. Kapayang, you're recognized. I enjoy debating you.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. Magandang umaga po. At,
Actually, I miss debating you.
Malusog na araw po sa bawat isa. Alam po ninyo ang posisyon paninindigan po ng Anak Pawis Party List, naging ng Kilusang ng Pilipinas, ay hindi lamang ibaba o hindi lamang isuspinde ang imposition at paniningil ng excise taxes natin sa lahat ng petrolyo, kundi lubos na tanggalin. Alam po ninyo ang epekto natin sa mga magsasaka at mangingisda ay talaga pong napakatindi. Magbibigay lang po ako ng halimbawa, bagamat ito po hindi kabuuan. Sa ngayon, doon lamang po sa ating rice production, kung meron tayong 4.7 million hectares na harvested area natin for rice, ang nagagamit po diyang crudo o diesel sa traktora, yung rotavator po, 30 liters isang container kada isa hektarya. At kung magpapatubig po yung ating mga magsasaka, hindi covered ng communal irrigation project systems o national irrigation systems, sa land preparation, kailangan po niyan 10 to 12 liters per hectare. So ibig ko po sabihin, doon lamang sa Araro, Pasag, Alang, Linang, yun po yung kabuuan ng land preparation, aabot po ng 188 million liters to almost 200 million liters ang nagagamit ng ating mga magsasaka. Kung umaani po yung ating national rice yield natin sa rice production ay 4 tons per hectare, multiply by 4.7 million hectares of harvested rice natin for rice, ano po magkano po yung kabuuan niyan, yung gross value natin sa rice production, farm gate prices lang, 236 billion pesos po. Nandiyan pa po ngayon yung napakataas na presyo ng farm inputs, ng fertilizers. Yung dating 1,000 pesos per bag ng urea o per bag ng complete fertilizer, ngayon po ay 2,000 na ang kada isang sako. Kung gumagamit po ating magsasaka sa kada isang hektarya ng 6 na sako na urea fertilizer at o kaya naman ay complete fertilizers, kailangan niya ngayon ang 12,000 pesos para makabili siya ng dating 6 na sako. Either 3 sakong urea o 3 sakong complete fertilizer. So ganyan po katindi yung economic impact. Kaya po kuyahambing natin yung matinding economic impact sa kabuhayan ng ating mga magsasaka. Ang binahagi ko lang po ay yung land preparation sa ating rice production. Ito po binabanggit yung kabuuang gastos, ilang litro ng diesel o gasoline ang nagagamit natin sa buong agriculture sector natin kasama ng livestock and poultry and fisheries. So ganyan po katindi yung impact niyan. Kaya po kami po nananawagan sa ating mga kagalang-galang na kongresista at ng House of Representatives na ikonsidera po ang paninindigan ng ating mga magsasaka, mga mangingisda, at siyempre po yung ibang sektor, mga super at iba pang mga sektor na apektado talaga nitong patuloy na imposisyon ng excise taxes sa mga produktong petrolyo sa ating bansa. Mas malaki po ang economic impact niyan at economic benefits kung hindi lamang ilo-lower, bababa, sususpinde, kundi pagkos ilubos ng tanggalin ang excise taxes natin sa mga produktong petrolyo. Maraming po salamat, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Muli, isa pong malusog na araw sa bawat isa.
Kapay, hindi mo nabanggit yung transportation ng produkto mo. Umalis agad. Because I think agricultural products are very transport intensive.
Yeah. 35% of the price is transport sa vegetable.
Kaya nga, yun ang problema ko. Kaya ang mahal-mahal ng produkto dito sa Bicol Kasi yung mga gulay dito galing Baguio. Kaya malaki po talaga yung sipa sa amin ng agricultural inflation. So who is still raising his hand? Knock it up. You keep raising your hand. No more na?
Mr. Kapinpin, sir. Yeah.
Okay, Kapinpin. PIP?
Mr. Chair, just a short manifestation. Yung LPG prices po, they don't make reference to MAPS Dubai. They use Saudi Aramco contract prices.
Can we adjust accordingly, Sharon?
Well, ano na lang. Maybe DOE can help us in the drafting.
In the final drafting, yes.
Too technical, yeah.
Okay, Kapeng, you raised your hand again.
Opo, yung pong nabanggit nga ninyo, matindi po impact niyan dun sa hauling and transport cost. Hindi lang po ng mga farm inputs natin, kundi mismo yung mga produktong agricultural po natin. Matindi po yan. Hindi pa po natin sinasabi sa rice production nga po, hindi pa natin sinasama yung sa tracing, sa paggigiik, o magkano pong naupa ng ating mga magsasaka doon sa reaper, combined harvester, 7 hanggang 10 kaban po yun. Kada isang daang kaban na mag-iik. So kaya po napakatindi po talaga ng epekto at sabi ko nga po, kailangan natin ng kung malaki pong bagay kung matatanggal nga excise taxes natin sa iba't ibang produktong petrolyo, lalo na po sa sektor ng ating agrikultura. Sama po sa poultry at sa ating pinetong tita, ang ating mga food producers sa kanayunan, lalo na po ang ating mga magsasaka, livestock and poultry stakeholders natin, mga mangisda natin, at merong malakas po yung kanilang purchasing power, nalilikha po natin yung malakas na merkado sa loob ng ating
Kapaeng, I'll give you all the time because Albay has a huge coast line and we have a lot of fishermen. If you can do the same with respect to farmers, what is the situation with respect to fisher folks? Baka kasi sinasabi ng iba, basta na lang kami gumagawa ng batas, pero talagang nasasaktan po talaga ang farmers and basically ang fisher folks.
Opo. Maraming po salamat, Mr. Chairman. At sana po, isaalang-alang po natin, i-consider natin yung ating mga magsasaka, mga mangisda, sana rin pong nananatiling pinakamalaking puwersa ng produksyon na nasa ating kanayunan. Kung sila po ay may sapat na kinikita, may malakas na purchasing power, ano man po ang kanilang binibili na may patong na indirect taxes, doon po ay nakakapag-ambag na po kami sa generation of revenues. Kaya po, habang dinadagdagan niyo po ang aming pasaning pinansyal, gastusin, kung bumababa yung ating netong kita o halos wala na, humihina yung ating purchasing power, aming purchasing power, lumiliit po yung humihina yung aming kakayanang bumili ng mga produkto, maging ng produktong agricultural, produktong industrial goods na may patong pong mga waste. So hindi po kami, dapat po kaming tratuhin bilang mga produktibong pwersa na ating bansa. At Mr. Chairman, mga kagalang-galang na kinatawan, dapat po tratuhin po natin ang ating agriculture sector as the very basic foundation ng national economy. With the industry sector, lalo na po sana kung meron tayong heavy industries, may programa tayo sa pambansang industrialization as the leading factor. Diyan po ang mahalaga. Kaya nga po kami, patuloy ang aming panawagan na maipatupad ang tunay na reforma sa lupa with pre-distribution of land as the basic principle and central goal at ang programa para sa pambansang industrialization. Dalawa pong mahalagang programa yan na kinakailangan para sa tunay na pag-unlad ng ating pambansang ekonomiya. Muli po, maraming salamat po, Mr. Chairman, at sa ating pong mga kinatawan. Muli po, isang malusog na araw po sa bawat isa.
Thank you. I would like to apologize to Arvin for cutting him down, but he was raising the same issues already in the past time, and there was no, except of course for the charts on the oil futures, the MOPS, which I also know, I monitor every day anyway. So I know how it works, and basically it doesn't take into account the backwardation. So again, please accept my apologies, Arvin, for cutting you down. So let's go back to business. I think we have already approved it, and subject to style and subject to all the other recommendations. So the Secretariat is hereby directed to finalize the substitute bill and prepare the corresponding committee report and present this to the members for approval in the next meeting, November 15, 2021. Marco?
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, Mr. Kua may want to speak. We were not...
Hindi ko kasi makita yung raised your hand eh. Asan ba siya? Mr. Kua, you're recognized?
Sir, Mr. Kua may want to speak po. He is from the Supermarket Association.
Yeah, Mr. Kua? Oh, he is my classmate.
Wala na.
Where are you, Kua?
Kong Joey.
Steven, asan ka? Hindi ka nag-a-attend ng reunion.
Kong Joey.
Po.
Tama ba yung sinabi mo kahapon na nasa dyaryo ka?
Hindi kasama po sa agenda, sir.
Hindi. Off the record yun, off the record.
Off the record.
Naka-live stream lang.
Huwag mo na sagutin. Oo, sige. Mamaya na lang.
Sir, the Bureau of Customs may want to speak about the fuel marking program if
Okay,
the committee
Customs.
decides po.
We have already decided, but it may add more inputs which may be considered by the principal now the principal writer of the committee report, Congresswoman Garin. Is it Jet? Jet? Customs? Sino sa customs? Wala na sila.
Habang inintay natin, diretso na ito sa ano, no? Sa Committee on Rules.
Nandito na yung customs, Mr. Chair.
Okay. You're recognized.
Nakamute lang sila.
Customs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry about that, sir. We lost our signal and we just reconnected, sir.
Okay. You're recognized, sir.
We did not make any motion, sir.
Okay. With respect to the administrative, especially the measures that you've heard, number one is the problem with fuel marking, that people will just import 91 octane and then how can you mark it, and then suddenly within the area? Does that mean that you need to share fuel marking with BIR? If they put additives that will increase the octane to 95 and 97? Is that an administrative issue for you?
Sir, we'll have to discuss this with the consortium, sir, and with the BIR since this is a technical matter, sir.
Anong suggestion mo dyan, Garin and Coco? May I recognize also, of course, the office of Congressman Jun Ong, my very good friend from way back.
Chair,
Oo.
it's a matter of implementation naman eh.
O sa IRR na lang.
Oo.
At saka na lang naman to, 6 months suspension.
Yeah.
Yan. Mr. Chair.
6 months of smuggling lang.
So, Mr. Chair, diretso na ba ito sa Committee on Rules after from here?
Hindi po. We have to approve the committee report on Monday.
That's why I'm asking already. I moved kanina that we approve already the committee report.
Okay. Naena, is there a problem with that? If you approve the committee report, subject to time?
The amendment.
Sir, pwede na yan? Pwede naman po. But we will show it on Monday rin for prudence po.
Yes.
Okay, just for prudence, but it goes to the committee on rules. Okay. So you better be careful, Congresswoman Garin.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have the full trust and confidence. Like
may bantay dyan. May Mark Go tsaka Sarte na nagbabantay. Hindi ako pwede
Sinabi mo kanina, genius, tapos medyo ano pa.
May bawi, ano?
Yung tiwala, nandyan. At respeto.
No, sir. Chairman Joey. I mean, the authors...
Because genius tend to be careless.
Yeah.
Chairman Joey.
Yes.
Just since we approved it already, I just want to thank na rin yung mga authors because they were amenable to a compromise. They were insisting actually na lahat-lahat talaga ibalik pre-train. But since they recognize the urgency of the matter and kailangan talaga i-address kaagad. And had we allowed all the, di ba, if we allowed everything that they wanted, siguro hindi tayo matatapos today. But they were willing naman to compromise para lang ma-address na kaagad because kailangan. So,
okay, now.
Yeah.
So the revenue negative becomes smaller since we're retaining train for 95, 97, and 100 basically. So is there any other matter that members and our guests would like to bring to the scrutiny and attention of this committee?
Chairman,
Yes.
can the I mean can I move for us to revisit the issue on fuel smuggling, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Because I know we have discussed it previously already several times, and in fact other committees also probably, especially energy or transport. No? But I think since it came up also last week in our discussion, so kung may time kayo, Chairman, I think it would be best time to revisit naman ang mga practices ng customs saka DOF and BIR.
Okay. Can we put that on the Monday hearing, Anna?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So.
Yes, sir.
Moto proprio.
Thank you, Chairman.
Briefing po siguro.
Briefing by the BOC and BIR with respect to oil taxes or collection of oil taxes, basically.
Yes. Sir, by the way, there's no motion pa po on co-authorship.
Yung magaling dyan, I miss Mickey Biolago. So who wants to take the place of Mickey? Ping Ping, would you like to make that motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to make as co-authors all the members present in this meeting.
Second.
Are there any objection? Hearing none, so all members, and again, can we do the Biver way? The secretary directed to put this to do the Biber, how do you call that again? To put this in the Biber for co-author
survey. For confirmation.
Co-authorship by survey ba yun? Tawag doon?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now we have a formal name, co-authorship by Biber survey. So again, with that, on Monday, we will have Bureau of Customs and BIR to essentially present collection of oil taxes, not just excise tax, but the entire tax spectrum. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Today is Thursday, and if you will call on Monday, yung meeting, baka kulang ng time for them to prepare.
They are always prepared. Di ba?
Okay.
General Guerrero?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure you can come up with a very significant and substantial report on collection of oil taxes.
Yes, sir. We'll come prepared on Monday, sir.
Including, Mr. Chair, as to the report nung nabanggit natin kanina doon sa oil marking, no? Sinabi nila it's very technical. I hope they can present a laymanized report on Monday, Mr. Chair.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Your Honor. We'll prepare.
Chairman.
Yes, Congresswoman Garin.
Baka lang pwede ma-include ng, I'm not sure if it's BOC, the reports on the export of fuel to the Philippines of the other countries. So we can compare kung may access kayo dun, sir. Thank you.
May UNCTAD tayo. I can ask my staff to present.
Sorry.
That's the basis for the 52 billion. That's the basis for the 357 billion 10-year loss on oil tax leakage from oil, which I presented in the last year.
Salamat.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
So again, Margo, I think you're itching to make a motion.
Yeah, because I have another meeting, Mr. Chair, but I want to finish this meeting. So if there are no more other items and matters to discuss, Mr. Chair, I move for the adjournment of this meeting, Mr. Chair.
Are there any objection? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. And I would like to apologize again to the DOF, but this is the first time, but it's a time-bound tax relief for heavily affected. My constituency demanded just for purposes of reminding the DOF. I have a lot of fishermen. The Albay has the biggest concentration of population fronting the highest per capita coastal community in the entire country, actually. And of course, I have a huge farmer constituency. So it behoves me as a voice, as a duly elected voice of their voice in Congress, and it is my moral duty. So I solicit the forbearance but the understanding of the DOF. Thank you very much. So this meeting is hereby adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you.
Thank you po.